And welcome back to the 3-hour news show. Indonesian property veteran Iwan Sunito, who made a name for himself in Australia by developing multiple award-winning properties worth billions of Australian dollars, is now setting his sights on Indonesia through a new venture, One Global Capital. Property magnate Iwan Sunito was born in Surabaya and spent much of his childhood in Pangkalan Bun, Central Kalimantan. But since the 1990s, he has made a big name for himself in the Australian property business as the co-founder and CEO of Crown Group, developing multiple award-winning properties, hotels, apartments, and other development projects in numerous cities such as Sydney and Brisbane worth billions of Australian dollars. Now, Sunito is reportedly setting his sights on Indonesia through his new venture, One Global Capital. The company is reportedly building boutique international hotels and properties in Bali. They're also reportedly planning projects in Jakarta, including Ancol, with a grander vision of bringing prosperity and development to Indonesia. And now I'm joined with the chairman and CEO of One Global Capital himself, Bapak Iwan Sunito. Good day, Pak Iwan.
Good day. Good to see you again.
Good to see you again. It's been a long
wonderful
time. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It's great to have you here.
I'm delighted.
So we open with a story, but of course, you achieved so many successes with your venture in property business, especially in Australia. And now, reportedly, you have another venture with One Global Capital. Can you tell us more about it?
One Global Capital is a dream that I've always had about taking the fund and the capital investment platform that I had for the last 25 years, but I've kept it secret in a way that it kept it within my own family member, and it is actually the company that's put the seed of capital into the Crown Group, and we created Crown Group for the last 25 years, then we created Sky Suites that were the home of the Married at the First Sight film show there. We break every record that we had, and we also created the retail division. But now I'm excited about taking it forward to the next level, which is truly a global platform with significant investment expanding across the world. But in particular, of course, my heart being born in Indonesia is always wanting to come back to Indonesia.
So since you mentioned it, you have another vision for Indonesia. So why now, or is there any specific reason for that?
Well, I've done a lot, right? I mean, in my life growing up, our business in Sydney, in Australia, in USA, but I do want to come back and give back what I have built, and there is a particular vision that I had, and it's been kind of on a back burner for the last 5 years because of the COVID-19.
Yeah.
And then, of course, with some of a bit of a hiccup that I have within my partnership. But now I'm confident that within the next 4 weeks to 8 weeks that I think I can move forward and growing and bringing the vision to Indonesia, which is really about building the city of the future in Jakarta.
In Jakarta. So how do you see the industry here, specifically property business in Indonesia, especially if you compare it to Australia or United States?
I think Indonesia is still in it's developing, but it's still in its birthing place, but it's exciting. Like it is, after all, a 1 trillion economy. It is, after all, it has the home of some of the youngest population in the world. And what's amazing about Indonesia is the fact that it's actually surrounded by 51% of the world population that are contributing to 75% of the growing middle income. And the world are watching Indonesia as the next country or the next hot news. It's the country on the move. I mean, that's something that I thought I want to go back, and this is in line with my vision to take One Global Capital to go public in the next 7 years. I want to take it, and part of that vision is really Indonesia.
Really, Indonesia, and that long-term plan, you mentioned it already, but in terms of, other than market, of course, There's a style, there's a culture there. So, so far, how do you see it in Indonesia? Especially you developed so many great design in Australia and United States as well. And I've been researching for that as well, doing my homework at home. But what type of property you seek here in Indonesia specifically?
I want to build a city of the future. It is not actually a city based on what building will look like. I think it's going to evolve over the next 50 years, but it'll actually be a city that will be inspired in a similar way to what the governor of Stanford did in Stanford, in Silicon Valley, by building the best educational facility in the world in Stanford. And that's the birth of the Steve Jobs, Thomas Alva Edison. It was a culture of education. So my hope is that I want to talk to the Indonesian government in terms of developing what could be potentially what I felt the most strategic location in Jakarta, which is Ancol, because after all, it already has about 10 million tourists coming to the country or to that place. It just needs to grow to another 20 to 30 million, but 10 million is as large as New Zealand's tourists coming to the country. But it hasn't really expanded to the Asian world or the part of the world. But I do believe that if we can just, like what we did in Bali, or the country did in Bali, building, for instance, in Nusa Dua, building a complex of 5-star hotel, I do think that this city of the future that will be built in Ancol or in Jakarta on this vision that we have has to be built on a complex of the best of and the finest universities of the world. So my thought is that if the heartbeat is responded in a positive way by the government of Indonesia or Jakarta government in terms of making the global city, I don't want to start putting the vision. It's not based on building, but it's actually based on education, because that is really where the future, if we train our nations, our people, and after all, we got so many amazing young people today, Tommy. I mean, I was impressed. Like, you have a lot of startup company, people who are into the creation of AI technology that are being based here. Bali has actually become a platform of a lot of global societies come together into that place. So we are becoming so much so slowly, but definitely we're becoming like USA, Europe or Australia. We become a multicultural society where we bring the best and the finest of the world to Indonesia, and from Indonesia, then we send them back to the world.
All right, the city of future, that's the tagline. And also, I want to ask you this one thing. Have you seen any challenges that you will face, especially to build your venture here?
Oh, I think there's a lot of challenges. It's going to require a lot of significant capital. But there are countries that have actually commands with city of the future. Songdo City in Korea have actually commands a city that is based on ecologically sustainable city that are being built. Saudi Arabia has been doing that too. But I do think that this is beyond ecologically sustainable development. This is about training and bringing the world to make Indonesia is the brain center of the world. And that's something, then we build culture center, then we build building, we build hospital, we build government center, we build the extension of Ancol. But I think if we focus on really bringing not about 25 million population, but 275 million population, but training on raising up 275 million brain powers that we have in this country, I think we can win the future even faster and further than what we thought it's possible.
Okay, you mentioned about Ancol and then Jakarta, including Bali. But how do you see IKN, the new capital city of Indonesia, Nusantara? How do you see it?
I have not been there because it's exciting to see that capital city has commenced, and it's based on my hometown, Kalimantan, because I grew up not that part of the world. I think there's a lot of thoughts that's been done properly there. I've seen what the former Governor Ridwan doing in that city, seen some of the finest thinking in terms of ecologically sustainable development. I think that will make it quite exciting because Kalimantan or IKN can be the political city like Canberra or Washington DC, but Jakarta can actually be the global, the New York of the future. And this is, I think it's exciting. And when I think about it, Tommy, like we are a 1 trillion economy already. I mean, Singapore is 250 billion economy. Australia is 1 trillion economy. But Australia economy is based on one GDP per capita of $60,000 a person. Indonesia is still about 4,000 per capita. So to grow from 4,000 to somewhere about 20,000, that's actually quite fast.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised that Indonesia, like is predicted by McKinsey and a lot of the significant authorities out there, that it can become one of the best and the biggest. But I think it can be the biggest and also the finest and the best. And it can also be the exporter of experts around the world. In fact, that I was speaking to Ambassador Pak Siswo in Canberra. We're actually starting to export engineers to Australia. The reason being is because Australia is lacking engineers. They didn't actually graduate or educate enough engineers. So that when the industry is growing, they're actually reaching out to Indonesia to say, hey, can you please help us to supply the skilled laborers that we need for that country?
Okay.
Now imagine how much more we can do if we focus all our energy together and working together with AKN and the global city of the future and combine all that strength. I think that'll be an amazing dream, but it's a dream that I believe, and I'm confident that once I pull all the finest and the brightest leaders in this country, we will make that happen together.
So, is there any consideration to build your property in Ikaen?
Not at this moment, but
Okay.
I would love to see it. But I would like to commence my first project perhaps in the land that I already have, 10 hectares in Sentul.
Okay.
I am in the process of just hoping that we can just continue with this handover of the Crown Group into my platform.
Okay. Well, Pak Iwan, you mentioned about, a hiccup in your partnership, but of course, I would like to the viewers to get the story or your learning curve in life, especially in the property business, because you begin in a very humble and modest family back in Indonesia back then, in Surabaya. But please tell us more about it. How do you build your dreams, especially be the property icon in Australia?
I think you do say a bit big on that, of being icon. I mean, there's a lot to learn from me, right? But I think if anything that I can pass on, really, it is about, I learn about to think big, but I'm not afraid to start small. I mean, I had a big dream to become one of the, I think, the finest architect, but later on I became one of the property developer, like one of the biggest in the country. But I do start small, like I was doing my garage, my fences, my bathroom while I was in the uni. So I actually applied exactly what Jim Collins said, which is about shoot the bullet, fire the cannonball after. In other words, you try small thing. I'm not a startup company like today where they started with $1 billion company. I started with a small thing, the houses, the fences, the garage, and over time, the one house has become 5 houses, many houses and many units. And within 8 years of Crown Group formation, we grew it to about 8 billion, about $1 billion project that we do there. So it was really about think big, but really starting small, because that small success that leads into the biggest success. The second part, I think I love architecture, and I think that was the thing about the company that grew from a small company to become a good company to a great company. It's because they were driven by their passion. It's not about, it's about the hours of doing the thing that you love the most. And that was really what the word of Steve Jobs that said that the only way that you can do great things if you do what you love. When you love what you do, you really are living it every day. And I think that's really what I learned. But the third one is really, I believe that it was the culture that within me, that whatever I've done in the past, I do not rest. I need to continue to innovate. In the word of Peter Drucker, who says that innovate or die. And Bill Gates has said that success is the lousy teacher because it seduces smart people into thinking that they can't lose.
You do not rest, even though there's a hiccup in your partnership. Please share a little bit of that. Like how do you learn from that kind of situation until you decided, okay, let's focus more on this one global capital?
Well, that was, look, what I was hoping that I could reach a peaceful solution turns out to be a nasty legal battle that was commenced and that was brought against me, and with the hope that it can break me, right? No, it wasn't easy. I mean, when you think about it, I have given all my life to build Crown Group, the hotel, and you were getting into the lockhead, you're 50% of the business, you could almost lose everything. And legal fight in Australia is very expensive. The moment you commence legal action, you'll be into $1 million, and you have to use finest and the biggest lawyer. Not only that, you got to find the right people that will work with you there. So it was not easy. It was hard in the beginning. Like, it was like, gee, what happened? Did I do anything wrong? What, you know? And there's a lot of this feeling that I could have done better, or this and that. Of course, now when I look back, thank God for it. You know, thank God for that fight. I don't hold back. I don't hold grudges against him. I think I celebrate, and I thank you for that fight, because it forces me to accelerate. So within 6 months, I kind of learned the lay of the land, and I kind of, just like anything, legal fight is just a skill, right? Once you learn the law of the land, and I call the term lawyer up. You know, what I did is, after 6 months, I lawyer up. I start building up my law team. So I had a room full of lawyers in the room, basically analyzing, and you fight that. But there were a couple of lessons that I think it's important that.
Okay. This is my last question, actually. What is 3 pieces of advice for the viewers, especially doing business like this?
I think you need to make sure that you can sleep at night and rest, right? Now, because stress is actually the biggest killer in any business. Because when you are stressful, your brain, and you don't sleep, your brain goes everywhere. So here's one tip: go and walk at least 10,000 steps a day.
10,000 steps a day.
And that's because when you're physically tired, your brain can't function anymore, and you'll sleep. Because if you don't sleep well, you will be panicking the next day. The second one is really that just learn that every test that we have in our life was given because somebody who's giving the test know that we will pass the test. So just stay and live for another day. Because another day, as long as you can fight, not only that, sometimes you don't always make the right strategic decision, but it was the other side that make the mistakes. They make the wrong move. They make the wrong strategic move. Bang, then you seize the opportunity. So I am hoping that in the next 4 to 8 weeks that there will be a resolution that I can reach with Crown, that I have made an offer about 6 times larger than what he offered me in February 2023. Okay. So essentially, I knew that I think that's the right way to go, to find a way that's fair deal, to say, look, you move on with this one here, and let me continue, because Crown Group, after all, it was designed and built out of a design and passion for architecture. No one else, I think, can take it other than me for now.
All right, Pak Iwan, time's up, but thank you so much for being here with us. Such an inspirational story from you, and of course, prayers to you and your family.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So that was our special interview with Iwan Sunito, Chairman and CEO of One Global Capital. We will be back with more information, so stay tuned.